Reality is fragile, layers of code, history, and perception stitched together. But what happens when the seams split? When forgotten signals resurface and the familiar becomes something else entirely? Welcome to Glitch Reality, where every story is a distortion, a crack in the system, a glimpse into what was never meant to be seen. Because sometimes the glitch is truth. A mother's love is boundless, a light in the dark, a shelter from the storm. But what if the mother you know isn't your mother at all? Tonight's story is in honour of Mother's Day in the UK. It's called The Mother's Veil. There is nothing quite like the warmth of a home. The scent of fresh bread drifting through the air, the hum of a radio, playing songs half forgotten but still familiar, the feeling of safety wrapped around you like a mother's embrace. That's what Ellie and Max had. A warm home, a loving father, and a mother who was everything a mother should be. Their mother Maggie was wonderful. She knew exactly what to say when Ellie was upset. She knew Max's favourite meals before he'd even asked. She was patient, gentle, always watching over them. Sometimes Ellie thought her mother had a way of knowing things before they even happened. "Bring a coat, love, it's going to rain," she would say before the first drop even hit the ground. "Don't worry, your test will go well," she smiled, and Ellie would find the answers easier than expected. Maggie always knew. There were always small things that Ellie never thought about until later. Max laughing through his food. "Mum, this tastes so good." Maggie, "Eat up, love, you're growing so fast." Ellie watched her mum from across the table. Something was different today. It was her hands. Her mother always had beautiful hands, delicate, clean nails neatly trimmed. But as Maggie reached for the grass, she noticed a faint red mark on her wrist. It wasn't a bruise. It wasn't a cut. Ellie didn't know what it was. "Mum, did you hurt yourself?" Maggie blinked at her for a second too long. "Oh, don't worry about me, love. You always worry too much." Ellie went back to eating, but the atmosphere in the room tightened. Ellie wanted to forget it. She wanted to push it from her mind, but later that night she woke up to a sound. It was coming from her window. Heart pounding, Ellie pulled back the curtain, just to peek, so she can see through. She froze. Outside, standing in the moonlight, was her mother. But that couldn't be right, because Ellie had seen her mother go to bed. And yet, she was standing there, looking right at Ellie's window. As she looked, Maggie tilted her head, the sound of skin scratching around the air. As the sun beamed through, the next morning, rain was pattering against the windows, the distant sound of birds, and you could hear a radio in the distance. But the signals were cracked, warping in and out just a little bit. Ellie wanted to believe she was dreaming last night, but she hadn't. She had seen her mother standing outside the window. She had barely slept after that. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw her mother's face in the dark, expressionless, watching. By morning, the memory felt fragile, distant. Maybe she had imagined it. Maybe it was just a trick of the light. And then she heard footsteps on the stairs, with the scent of toast and tea filling the air, and she could hear plates clinking downstairs from the kitchen. Ellie got up and forced herself to act normal. "Morning, love. You're up early." The sound of cups being set down, a spoon slowly stirring a cup of tea. Ellie looked at her mother. Everything seemed fine. She was cooking breakfast, humming, smiling, like she always did. And yet, Ellie thought something wasn't right. Her mother's voice, just slightly, sounded wrong, like a record played at the wrong speed. Then a pause. The sound of toast being buttered, slow, deliberate scrapes against the bread. Maggie turns to Ellie. "You look tired, love. Bad dreams?" Ellie's breath catches. Ellie hadn't mentioned her nightmares. She hadn't said a word. I guess so. You shouldn't let silly things scare you. They're only dreams. Ellie forced herself to nod. But she couldn't help but notice her mother still hadn't blinked. Later that day, the distance of the school chatter, kids laughing, footsteps on a wet pavement, Ellie tried to shake off this morning. School was normal, everything was normal, but the feeling wouldn't leave her. And then they get home from school. The door creaks open. Max runs in. "Mom, I'm home." Ellie follows him inside, just in time to see their mother turn the corner. Something about it throws Ellie in place. For just a second, it looked like her mother's arms were too long. "There you are, love." Ellie exhales. The tension dissolves. Maybe she's imagined it. Maybe being sleepless and tired had made it all in her head. Maybe this was nothing. Then Max speaks. "Mum, where's your necklace?" The warmth in the room vanishes. Maggie never took off that necklace. It was a simple thing, a thin silver chain, a locket with a picture of her grandmother inside. She wore it every single day. But now it was gone. "Oh, I must have replaced it. I'll find it later." Everything went too quiet. Ellie watched her mother, and that's when she saw it. A red, faint mark on Maggie's collarbone, just peeking out from beneath the necklace line, a shape curving slightly, just like a seam waiting to be unstringed. Ellie's stomach turned. That night, she dreamt of something standing in her doorway, tall, skin too loose, and in the dark, it whispered her name. As the night progressed on, Ellie sat up in bed. The sound of a clock ticking faintly in the distance. A quiet, uneasy stillness settled around the house. Ellie didn't want to sleep. She couldn't shake the feeling there was something wrong with her mother. It was the little things, the human things, the humming that never quite sounded right, the way her eyes lingered too long before answering a question. And the worst part was, no one else seemed to notice. Ellie lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. Then she heard it. Her breath caught. She turned over, her eyes locked on to the silver light beneath the door. Someone was standing outside her room. Ellie's stomach twisted. "Are you awake, love?" Ellie paused. She didn't answer. She didn't move. "Let me in, sweetheart. You shouldn't sleep all alone." Then the doorknob started to turn, slow, deliberately. Ellie squeezed her eyes shut. She felt it, the wrong pressing against the door. A pause. The doorknob stopped. Silence. Ellie finally exhaled. "Well, good night, love." After that restless night, go back to the morning, and you can hear the sound of a kettle, the faint murmur of the radio. Everything felt back to normal. The world felt back to normal. Ellie told herself this is all just sleeplessness, she has to have imagined it all. But when she stepped into the kitchen, her mother was already there, smiling. A chair was being pulled back, the sound of a cup of tea being set down in front of Ellie. "Sleep well, love." She wanted to believe everything was fine, but then she looked down. The sound of rustling fabric. On the table, sitting neatly beside her plate, was her mother's silver necklace. The tension snapped. A sharp, distorted note rings out, metal on metal, high-pitched and grating. Ellie's stomach dropped. Her mother had lost it yesterday. How had it gotten there? You always worry too much. A cold wind then passes through. Ellie leaves for the day. The woods outside had always been her mother's place. Whenever she was upset, or thinking, or just needing to be alone, she went to the trees. So when Max's football rolled over the garden fence in the woods, Ellie didn't want to go after it. But Max did, and that's when they found it. As they rustled through the forest, the sound of rustling leaves, 2 sets of footsteps. Max is light, more eager. Ellie's hesitant, holding him back. Max is grumbling. Mum's gonna kill me if I lose another ball. He pushes his way through the tangle of branches while Ellie's following more reluctantly. Max, we're not supposed to be in here. Scared of trees? She didn't know why, but something felt wrong. The air was too still. Then, Max stopped walking. Ellie, what is that? A slow, dragging sound. Max's shoe nudging something soft, wet. Ellie stepped forward. And then she saw it. Lying among the leaves was a piece of skin. It wasn't an animal. It wasn't rotten. It was fresh. And it smelled just like their mother's perfume. Ellie's throat tightened. This was human skin. Their mother's skin. And then a howl came through the trees, rising in an unnatural whistle. A hum, and it came from deeper in the woods. The kids hurried back to the house. And then back at the house, the heavy rhythmic ticking of the hallway clock as the door creaks open. They never told their mum what they found. They wanted to. They almost did, but when they got home, she was already in the bathroom. The door was unlocked, and through the gap, they could see her standing under the water, a slow, wet peeling sound. Her hands were pressed against her arms, not washing them, pulling. Shh! A tear like wet fabric. Ellie held her breath. But just for a moment. Through the seam, she saw it. Her mother's fingertips digging beneath her own skin, pulling it loose. A sicking, sliding noise, something being peeled away. She was taking it off. Then the shower stops. Ellie and Max run. Their hurried footsteps fade, a pause, then at the bathroom door creaks open, a shadow moves, and their mother's voice. Kids? Where are you hiding? A soft, 2 wet footsteps against the floorboard, a slow breath, the sound of bare skin sliding into new skin. It's almost dinner time. A sharp, dissident hum. The radio of the other rooms flicker to life, static and distorted music, now warping in and out. The next morning, the kids woke up. They could hear the sound of a butter knife scraping across toast, a spoon clinking against the rim of a teacup, the muffled hum of the radio playing an old folk tune, distorted like it was struggling to hold the signal. Ellie and Max hadn't spoken about what they saw. Not the skin in the woods, not the shower, and not the way the mother's voice sounded different when she called them to dinner that night. Because if they said it out loud, that means it was real. They quietly continue to go about their day. Not hungry, love? Ellie pauses and realizes she hasn't touched her toast. Max is staring at his plate, pushing eggs around with his fork. Neither of them look at her. Not directly. Cat got your tongue? Ellie forces herself to shake her head. Her voice comes out too tight, too rehearsed. Just tired. And then Maggie starts humming a beat. For a moment, everything felt normal, and then Maggie leaned forward. "What were you two doing in the woods yesterday?" Ellie grips her fork tight. "How did she?" "Nothing, we were just getting my ball." "Is that so?" says Maggie. "Reminds me of when I was a little girl." Then Maggie said something that made Ellie's stomach turn. "Your gran always hated when I wandered into the woods alone." Their mother never called her gran. She always called her mum. Always. "Oh, look at your faces. I'm teasing, loves." Ellie's exhaled. Too sharp, too shaky. Max forces a small laugh. But they don't look at her. They don't speak. Because that wasn't a mistake. It was a test. The radio then fizzles. The breakfast table was too quiet. Later that night, it was raining outside. You could hear the steady tick of the hallway clock, distant and rhythmic. Ellie lay awake. A faint creak, the sound of someone moving down the hall. She hadn't told Max, but something had changed at dinner. Something about their mother. She wasn't just acting different. She was watching them. Ellie knew she wouldn't sleep, so she got up. The soft creak of the bed springs, the slow, quiet footsteps of bare feet moving across the wooden floor. She just needed some air. But then, Ellie squinted. She could see something out by the fence. Something was standing there. Her breath caught because it was her mother. A sharp inhale. But no. Something was wrong. She was facing the house, staring up at Ellie's window, and she was not moving. The longer Ellie stared, the worse it got. The way the rain didn't seem to touch her, the way her arms hung at her side, loose and wrong. Then, Ellie's stomach turned, because the woman in the garden was still wearing her mother's dressing gown. You could hear a sharp, grating note like metal scraping bone, but inside the house, down the hall, their mother was still awake. How was she in two places at once? This made no sense. Ellie didn't sleep. Neither did Max. Because somewhere in their house, their mother was awake too. And she wasn't alone. The morning came, the soft clang of a spoon hitting the kitchen floor, a slow, hollow drip, drip, drip of the tap. No radio this time, just the eerie, stretching silence. Ellie and Max sat at the table. Their mother stood at the stove, stirring porridge. A wet, slopping noise as the spoon moved through the thick mixture, slow, methodical. Max hadn't said a word. Ellie hadn't touched her food. And Maggie was smiling. "You two are quiet this morning." A pause. The ticks of the clock filled the air. Ellie's stomach twisted, because something was now wrong with her voice. It was way too smooth. Like someone practicing a speech. Like an accent worn like a mask. "You're not scared of me, are you?" Ellie replies in too fast of a tone. "No, of course not." Maggie smiles wider. Max stares at his lap. The tension heightens. The silence thickens. Then, click. Ellie stiffens. Because she knows that sound. It's the lock on the front door. She locked the doors. Why? "Let's just stay in today. Just us." The spoon scrapes the bottom of the pot of porridge. Maggie keeps stirring. Ellie glances at Max. He's gripping his fork too tight. They need to get out. Now. Ellie stands up. Too fast. I just need to get something from my room. Of course, love. Go on then. Ellie hesitates. Then slowly she backs out the kitchen. Her footsteps are now too loud in that quiet house. She reaches the hallway, turns the corner, and then she runs. A sharp breath, footsteps pounding up the stairs, faster and faster. Her door creaks open. Ellie rushes into Max's room, grabbing his backpack, shoves it into his arms. Pack your stuff, we're leaving now. Max's eyes are wide, panicked, but he doesn't argue. He starts shoveling clothes into his bag, hand shaking. But then, a floorboard creaks, a slow, deliberate step outside the door. Ellie's breath caught. She turned and saw the shadow under the door. What are you two doing in there? Something in her voice had shifted. It wasn't right. It now wasn't hers. There's a slow tap, 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 as Maggie moved closer. You can tell me, loves. I know everything about you. A slow, sickling realization occurs in Ellie's gut. She didn't say, I love you. She didn't say, I'd never hurt you. She said, I know you. The doorknob rattles. Ellie and Max flinch. A long, slow exhale from the other side. Then, nothing. The sound of Maggie walking away. Ellie exhales, trembling. We have to go. Then Max nods. They don't have much time. The house is dead silent. The only sound is the rhythmic ticking of the clock in the hallway, counting down. Ellie and Max stood in his room, their bags packed. The door was now unlocked. A creak in the floorboards as Ellie slowly inches towards the door, pressing her ears against the wood. Nothing. No movement. No humming. She was letting them try. She wanted to see what they will do. Ellie exhales. Then she grips Max's hand. We go, now. A slow creak as they ease open the door. The hallway yawns before them, stretching long and familiar in the dim morning light. The house now felt bigger. Or maybe it was just watching them. Ellie and Max make it downstairs. Their footsteps seem too loud on the old wooden steps. Every breath feels deafening, but the front door loomed ahead. Ellie grips the handle. She slowly twists it and click. The latch gives. They're going to make it. Then, where are you going, loves? They turn. She's right there, sitting at the kitchen table. The soft tap, tap, tap of her nails against the surface. Smiling. You weren't thinking of leaving me, were you? The tension coils. Ellie tightens her grip on Max's hand. We just wanted some fresh air. Maggie chuckles, like a parent humouring a child's lie. Then, a wet, sickening sound like something shifting under skin. Ellie's breath catches because her mother's smile has started to grow. A stretch, a pull too wide, the corners of her mouth pulling past where humanity made it possible. Her skin is too tight, like it didn't fit. But then Maggie speaks. You know, I used to like you. And then she stands, a chair scraping against the floor, a movement too soft, like a puppet being lifted upright. She steps forward. Once. Twice. Ellie yanks the door open. A burst of cold morning air. She and Max bolt outside. They start running. Their footsteps pound against the wet grass. The sky is heavy with clouds. The morning mist is thick, clinging to their skin. They don't stop. They don't look back. Not until a crack of twigs ahead. A shape. Something standing in the trees. Ellie stops to a skid. Her stomach drops because her mother's there, waiting, smiling. A slow, gut-wrenching realization they left her inside the house. So how is she here? The wind stirs, carrying soft, familial, melodic hums. Maggie tilts her head, staring at them. The mist clings to her shape as it's part of them. Then she steps forward. A wet, tearing sound like fabric splitting, like flesh unzipping. Something underneath the skin shifted, adjusted. Ellie grabs Max's arm. They had nowhere left to run. The sound only of Maggie's voice. Only now, it wasn't Maggie's voice at all. I have been so patient with you. A sickening snap. Her neck cracks, her too far to one side. Come here. Max shakes his head, tears brimming in his eyes. Maggie's smile fades, her face goes blank. Then, she moves. Fast. Too fast. They hear it, a guttural, animalistic shriek. Nothing human left in it. Ellie grabs Max, shoves him backwards. They hit the ground. And then, darkness. There was a slow breathing in the air. Not theirs. Ellie had opened her eyes. She was home again. A faint dripping in the kitchen, a distant creak, something shifting upstairs. The morning light was streaming through the windows, painting the familiar shapes of her bedroom. The posters on her wall, the dresser, the door. Everything was normal. But she remembered. She was running. She remembered falling. She remembered Maggie moved too fast. Her face stretched too wide. A slow, creeping realization slivered up Ellie's spine. She wasn't supposed to be here. Ellie turned her head. A long pause, then a sharp inhale. Because Max was already awake, and he was staring at her. Wide-eyed, mouth slightly open, like he wanted to speak, but didn't dare. Ellie sits up. Her body aches, but something falls off. She follows Max's gaze. A slow pan of the room, quiet and undisturbed. Then she sees it. The door. It was open, but just a crack. A sliver of darkness laid beyond, the faintest shadow shifting, watching. Then, Maggie's voice, returning to its soft, sweet nature right outside. Are you awake, loves? The voice was wrong still. It sounds like her, but something was underneath. Something was mimicking, trying to get that tone just right. And then it happened again. The tap, tap, tap of Maggie's nails tracing the wooden frame of the door. You were so tired. You fell asleep outside, silly things. Ellie and Max exchange a look. A silent understanding passes between them. They never came back inside. So how did they get in here? Then, the door creaks open and Maggie steps inside. A slow, deliberate shift of weight on the floorboards. A pause, and then Max whispers, That's not her. Ellie breathes deeply. The air is thick, heavy with the scent of damp earth. Maggie smiles. A slow curl of the lips, too smooth, like something's rehearsing. She tilts her head slightly. What a thing to say! Then, right on the floor, Maggie sits down, facing them. Her legs folded neatly, resting in her lap. A silence so unnatural, it makes Ellie's teeth ache. You should eat something. Ellie stares back. But something is wrong with her mother's skin. The light from the window catches on her face the wrong way, like it doesn't sink in properly. Like she's wearing wax, almost. There is a long silence. The ticking of the clock in the hallway is the only thing in the air. "You love me, don't you?" Ellie doesn't answer. Maggie doesn't blink. Then, a wet, fleshy tearing sound. Ellie's stomach twists because Maggie is smiling, but her lips aren't moving. The smile pulls wider and wider, the skin stretching like something is inside is laughing, and the skin is just along for the ride. A low, wet chuckle that wasn't Maggie's. Ellie and Max lurch back, Maggie's hands twitch in her lap. She leans forward. "You haven't figured it out, have you? This thing in her mother's skin, it had been playing with them, testing them, waiting. Then it stands. The sounds of bones re-angling, twisting into places. Ellie grabs Max. They run, the burst of movement through the door, slamming it, their footsteps pounding down the hall. Maggie's voice now following, mocking them. "Oh, my loves, you won't get too far." Ellie reaches for the front door. She wrenches it open. Outside, the sky is grey. The trees stand still. There's no wind, no birds, no life. A creeping death slithers through Ellie's chest. Then she sees them. Figures standing in the mist, watching. Not one, not two, a crowd. Dozens. A low, distant hum, a harmony of voices, and they all look like Maggie. Melly and Max and Ellie grip each other's hands. They're surrounded. They're trapped. And the things wearing their mother's skin are smiling. They hum. The tension coils. Then a hand clamps down on Ellie's shoulder. Maggie's voice right at her ear. "There you are." They never stood a chance. Ellie jerked away, but it was too late. Maggie's grip was iron. "Shh, it's all right now." Ellie's thrashing, Max is screaming. They're pulled back. The world blurs, stretches, distorts. The figures in the mist step towards them, their faces shifting, flickering. All Maggie, all grinning. Then, nothing. Ellie awakes, her body aching, her breath is ragged, uneven. But she can't move. Then she hears the hum. Ellie blinks, her vision adjusts, the world is dim, blurred. She's inside something. Then she realizes. She's looking through someone else's eyes. Her own hands move in front of her face, but they're not hers. The fingers are too long, the skin is too smooth, too perfect. Her mother's voice now echoes inside her skull. "There you are, love." She turns. Max is beside her. He is looking at his hands too. His not hands. And then slowly, he lifts his head. Max now has their mother's face. And so does she too. They are her now. They are all her now. Ellie opens her mouth to scream, to sob, to deny, but only a soft hum comes out. She tries again, another hum, another harmony. Her breath stutters, her body won't move the way she wants it to, her fingers won't bend the way they should. Max's mouth opens. And he sings too. They aren't trapped inside her. They are her. They lift their heads, their many heads, their many voices. For a while, they lived as they would. But then a new family came along. They stood at the threshold. A man, a woman, and a little girl clutching a stuffed rabbit. They looked for a house. It was quaint, homey, charming. The for sale sign is gone. Their boxes are waiting. The woman exhales, smiling. Feels like home already. The little girl pauses. She tilts her head, listens. Her parents step inside. She lingers. But she can hear something. A woman's voice. Her mother's voice. But her mother is already inside. Then a figure steps from the woods. A woman. Smiling. Hello, love. And the little girl, she smiles back. And so the house welcomes another family. A cycle as old as the wood themselves. Reality shifts, memories fade, but the song always remains. And if you ever hear it, you hear the hum, don't answer. Because the one singing might already be wearing your face. We all believe we know our family, their voices, their faces, the little things that make them them. But tell me, what if one day something changes? A gesture not quite right, a word spoken in a voice that sounds the same but feels wrong. Would you notice? Or would you simply just nod and follow them into the dark? From me here at Glitch Reality, I want to say Happy Mother's Day to everyone that's listening. Have a fantastic day, and remember, if you happen to see the glitch, keep your eye. Because sometimes, the glitch is real.